As I was researching megalithic alignments, I felt I should research one of the most notable straight-line alignment, made especially famous because it was noticed by the first American astronaut John Glenn as he orbited the night sky over the North American continent. The cities are Atlanta, Georgia, Roanoke, Virginia, Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston, Massachusetts, all of which involves the colonization of the Americas, planned and implemented by the Freemasons, involving real Illuminati. To complete the purpose, a group of noble-born French knights had schemed almost 2,000 years ago. In 1095, the Crusades began as Christians in Europe sought pilgrimage to the Holy Land. 9 French knights banded together to protect the pilgrims on their travels, and because they operated by the charity of the pilgrims, they became known as the Poor Knight, whose emblem was 2 knights on 1 horse. After gaining control of the Holy Land, Crusaders sacked Egypt and gained the sacred knowledge contained at the Temple of Luxor, where they started removal of obelisks and their placement along the paths of pilgrims seeking to magically connect the Holy Land with the power of Ra they thought was contained in the obelisks. Jerusalem fell in 1187, but a recent document details the Templars made a journey to the Americas in 1199, possibly transporting sacred treasures. The Templar Navy was called the Knights of Malta and ruled the Mediterranean Sea with the first known use of the skull and crossbones. I wanted to give a satellite view of Jerusalem, where Solomon's Temple was located, and the Dome of the Rock, formerly known as Temple Mount. Originally, I assumed the Templars sought to connect Jerusalem to European Christendom, but I found the alignment of the Great Pyramid directly pointed to Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels biblically came to earth. Little known is the original Knights Templar, all claimed heritage to King David. In a document dated 900 AD called the Regis Manuscript, calls Egyptian nobles' sons Masons, who were taught at the Temple of Luxor. It also describes how they are to treat their communities and apprentices, rules later adopted by the Freemason Society. This line from Mount Hermon continues northwest over areas of ancient history in Turkey and Greece, leaving obelisks along the way. Templars never regained the Holy Land. Instead, they sought to create new Jerusalems in Rome, Paris, and London. Paris has one of the 2 obelisks from the Temple of Luxor. The Templar line falls between Paris and London at almost equal distances of about 65 to 66 miles. Of note, this is London's obelisk called the Cleopatra's Eye, one of 2. The other one stands in New York. Continuing on this straight line, moves over the North Atlantic and apparently uses the island of Newfoundland like a pointing arrow to the continent. As we turn north, you can see the alignment seems to use Newfoundland as an arrowhead, pointing directly to what they thought was Atlantis. In 1307, King Philip of France declared the Knights Templar to be outlawed, publicly claiming them to be heretics, but privately criminalized them because of a large debt he didn't want to repay. Also forced then Pope Clement to excommunicate them, threatening to move the seat of the church to France, which Philip does at a later date anyway. Thousands of Templars escaped to Spain, Portugal, and England, regrouping under other names. In 1492, Columbus sails to the New Land, flying the Portuguese Templar cross. By the mid-1500s, discovery of gold ignited the imagination of Europe, and in 1561, the Virgin Queen Elizabeth bears an illegitimate son who is named Francis Bacon. He is immediately shipped off to Paris, where he is mentored by the father of Hermetics, John Dee, and is instructed in the science of alchemy. During this time, Mexico City is reached and equated with the stories of Atlantis, an amazing city of pyramids surrounded by water. Bacon then devised a plan for the colonization, continuing the Templar connection from the Holy Land to New Atlantis. Bacon recreates the secret knowledge of the Templars as ceremonies of a society of nobles, forming the Rosicrucian Order and Freemasons as philanthropic knights of a higher calling. Minutes of Scottish Rite Freemasons date from 1599. The two columns outside entries of Masonic temples denote the obelisks of the Temple of Luxor, and the high degrees Freemasons are designated as Knights Templar. Adam Weishaupt founded the Bavarian Illuminati in 1776 as a poor nobles Freemason society, operating under the same rules. Weishaupt then lost power, and secret societies were outlawed, forcing members to flee to France, becoming the underground movement of the French Revolution. Meanwhile, the American Revolution is effectively organized under Masonic auspices, as the majority were fellowship members, already using codes and secrets. The French Revolution follows on the heels of the American. With the combined assistance of the Masons and Illuminati, French royalty falls, and aristocracy is purged by the guillotine, with rumors of revenge for King Philip's treachery eventually ending with Ben Franklin as mediator. I must consider Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, who designed Washington, D.C. as a member of the Illuminati from France, because although not initiated as a member of the Freemasons, was fully knowledgeable of the secret meanings of their signs and symbols. Washington, D.C. was constructed as a symbolic New Jerusalem and is aligned to the Holy Land by following the summer solstice from the center of the city, which is designed to replicate the Orion's Belt constellation. This symbol is used at Giza, with the Great Pyramid as the second star of the belt, so I use the second circle in Washington, D.C. to orient and follow the solstice line. As you can see, it precisely follows an alignment to Mount Rainier, probably using Mount Rainier as the heel stone. And across the cities of Paul Revere's ride, Wilmington, Delaware, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Trenton, New Jersey, through New York and Boston, Massachusetts. Then back across the North Atlantic, only crossing England in the south. And that just a small part of England. As we zoom in, orient it to north, it points directly again to Paris. over the city of Bern in Switzerland, then through the city of Venice, Italy. The line crosses Greece to finally connect Old Jerusalem with New Jerusalem. And more amazing, it crosses the exact center of the Dome of the Rock, formerly known as Temple Mount. The Illuminati line thus corrects the Templar line in their minds. But after the American Revolution, the Masons fall out of public favor when they're implicated in the murder of a journalist who was going to reveal their secrets and symbols in 1826. The Masons formed secret societies like Yale Skull and Bones in 1832, whose members are required to be from white Protestant families and money. So as the Civil War started, it separated both country and Freemasons alike. The Confederates made Southern Grand Master Albert Pike a general of their army. Pike develops the secession scheme, while his publicly avowed racism fathers both the Ku Klux Klan and the Knights of the Golden Circle, whose members included Jesse James and John Wilkes Booth, now using the Skull and Bones as American Illuminati code. The three Skull and Bones family members, Prescott, George H.W. and George W. Bush, are pictured here to bring us to the present. I wanted to show how close the Bush family home in Kennebunkport, Maine is to the Templar line. And now I'll show you the actual alignment as it should be if taken from Mexico City itself. Over the Atlantic, it meets exactly with the altar at Stonehenge, United Kingdom. And as I zoom out and head into Europe, it heads directly over what is called the Grave of Atlas. In Greece, and of course Cyprus again. I show the proximity to Jerusalem, but this is not the goal of this navigation. As I zoom out, you will see the line precisely bisects the Arabian Peninsula, which the Sumerian chronicles as the original landing place of the Anunnaki. Then across thousands of miles of ocean to exactly pass over the highest point of the only landmass in the area, called Campbell Island. And there you see it crosses over the peak of the highest mountain of this little circular island. And as I zoom out, we're back into the South Pacific, headed northeast, again directed into Mexico and Mexico City proper. As I zoom in, I'll show you its proximity to Teotihuacan and the Pyramid of the Sun. But the point is, you have to start from the right place for this ancient navigation. And the correct starting point for a summer solstice navigation would be Mexico City, and then to Stonehenge in the United Kingdom. This is how the solstice is used to connect the colonization of the New World to the Holy Land, and our United States government to the politics of Israel itself. And I thank you for your views.